Okay, so this is episode 2 of Visual Podcast, where we're going to be talking about NaNoRenO, which is happening right now, right? And yeah, so I have with me sakevisual, which should I call you that or should I call you something else? You have a couple
You can call
of names.
me Ayu, it's fine.
Ayu. And you're like leading it this year, right? Sort of?
Yes. So Nano's really this community thing, and over the years, other people have contributed to it either through posting threads or whatever. But for this year and last year, I was running the jam page on itch.io. So I guess in a way, but if you check the tag, you'll see tons of people are posting support and advice. And the best thing about it is that it's a huge community project that no one person really holds ownership over.
Yeah. How big is this by now? Because I know it's been running since 2005, which surprised me.
Yeah. This is back before jams were a thing. NaNoRenO is still a big deal, and it's still kind of like the largest jam, I guess, for visual novel devs in the English-speaking community.
I think so. I can't even think of another one that actually has a name, a brand to it.
Last year, I'm checking the jam stats right now, we had 7-1 entries at the final, but 400 people started. Yeah.
400.
This year we've got 200 or so people joined so far. That number will go up over the course of the month. If you're listening, it's still not too late to start.
I know. Submissions due in 22 days.
Yeah. Well, just a short game. The whole idea of Nano was to do something really short because a lot of people come into this, especially when it started, there weren't a lot of English visual novels for people to look at. So most visual novels were modeled after the Japanese ones, which are historically incredibly long.
Yep.
And it's really easy to lose steam when you're a single person trying to make a 200-hour-long visual novel, when really, as a single person, you should be starting out smaller and then working your way up, building a team, things like that. And so this was sort of guys, get it together, just do something in a month. If it's 5 minutes long, that's okay. You're learning how to make a game, and learning from smaller projects first will make your larger projects go by much faster once you start them.
Oh yeah, seriously. Because all I can remember when I was doing development, it's just you have to learn everything, right? It's I'm just going to make a menu, and then you spend 5 days on a menu because you don't know how to make buttons.
Yeah. The first project we ever did wound up being a 10-minute game. There was only one sprite. There were only one background image and stuff like that, but it took us a month to finish it because we just didn't know what we were up to. And then the second game we did had 4 major characters, another sprite, a bunch of backgrounds. It was fully voiced, and it also took us only 1 month to do it because by then we had figured out where the problems were in our process. We had learned how to communicate with each other better, and things were just a lot smoother.
So wait, you did all that stuff in 1 month? 4 routes and
yeah, our first game ever, Ripples, took a month. It's only 10 minutes long, super free. Check out our site, sakevisual.com. But the second game we made, Jisei, also took only a month to put together.
Oh, wow.
And it is significantly, there's more to it. There a lot more going on. But the team that worked on it, we learned how to work together a lot better so that everything went way smoother. And I think if we had tried to do that at the beginning, we might still be working on it now.
Yeah. And you have to redo your code 20 times because you find out this thing doesn't work, right? So every time you do it, you wind up building code that you can reuse later.
Yes, which is fantastic.
Yeah, and that would be, so you're actually piling on. How many have you done by now?
I've officially completed, I think, maybe 3 nanos within the nano time. But probably one of our most famous games, Realistair, was done during a similar challenge. It wasn't officially nano, but it was one of those hey, you only have this small amount of time to do it. And we did it. We raced through it. It was pretty cool. And then we actually tacked another month onto the back end and used the second month to polish it up real nice, clean up any of the art we didn't like, add some extra stuff, clean some of the code. And that version, Realistair++, is the one that I think a lot of people have played and sort of was part of that big first push for Otome games.
Cool. So I've always wondered, when you start a nano, right, do you have an idea before it starts and then you clock starts and you start working on it, or are you, or like it clock starts and you're like, okay, I need to come up with a thing right now?
I think everyone has a different way of doing it. Nano was originally based on NaNoRenO, National Novel Writing Month, and I've participated in a couple of those as well. And during those, people talk about there are planners and there are pantsers. Planners, everyone, they've already written the first chapter in their head. It just needs to escape from their fingertips. They've got charts on the wall and pictures with, the red thread connecting them. And then pantsers, people who, fly by the seat of their pants, are just kind of like, I'll make it up as I go and see what happens. And I think a lot of that shows up in the dev community as well. I plan, anytime I write a murder mystery, I always plan ahead. Because it's, but one of our Nano games actually, I didn't think of until 3 days into it. I was like, I'm not going to participate this year. It's not a thing. And then 3 days in, I was like, oh no, I have an idea. Crap. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So I've done both. They're both fun in their own ways. Pantsing is nice because you don't know where you're going to end up. And sometimes you surprise yourself and you come up with all sorts of cool things along the way. Planning is nice because you don't panic nearly as much.
I suppose it's easier to pants if you happen to have some assets to lean on, like existing engine code.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I can totally see you just someone who's like, I have an idea, and then like 3 weeks in, just finally figure out like all the technical details, which is scary. Which is different from writing a book, right? Like, you just open up Word and go. There's no technical hurdle short of you learning how to type, right?
Yeah,
whereas this one, you do have to, there is some coordination. Like there are some rare people who can do everything in one of these projects, but it's rare. I know of like two.
So, like, I always tell people that your first project you should do on your own. It doesn't matter if you're bad at code or art or music or any of it. You should do all the pieces yourself just so you know what the rest of your teammates are up to on your next project. But for something like this, you can get a lot more done if you have a team working together.
Definitely. Yeah, there are so many moving parts in a dev thing, right? And it's good to know what their pain is. It's like that way you're not the guy sitting here. It's like, why aren't my graphics done? And the poor guy is like desperately on his tablet.
It's been 10 minutes.
It's like, just give me time. I need to color this thing, right? Okay. Let's see what. So you gave some really good advice already of just like do everything, at least try everything, put it to start. Do you have any like shortcuts, like things like, I don't know, like if you don't know anything but want to do one like tomorrow when we launch this thing, right? Like any shortcuts that they should know?
Well, one of the artists I work with has a really good system where when you tell her what your assets your game needs, you actually have to rank them. So you give her a list of all the things the game absolutely needs, like, hey, a sprite of this character. And then you give her a list of things that are pretty important, but you could do without if you could. For instance, this character sprite, but with a different outfit would be nice, Right. And then you do one, and then the bottom list is stuff that would be so nice, but the game will last without and you will be fine. Like the character sprite in a different pose, for example. And it's been really good for streamlining the process, but also for managing to keep deadlines. You know what to prioritize. And I think doing that for Nano is a really good idea, not just in terms of the artwork, but also the writing. For example, I need to write these 5 scenes to get from the beginning to the end, but also some bonus content here, or you could change the scene a little bit if you make a different choice here, would really help fill out the story, but isn't necessarily important to get from the beginning to the end.
Yeah, that's really good advice, because otherwise you're going to get stuck on something inconsequential, right?
Yeah, there's a danger of trying to write or work chronologically and do all the pieces and spread out, all the different choices, and then you only get half of your game done because you didn't make it to the end.
Right, and then you haven't got a chance to write like the best part.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so, so what would you think is like the absolute minimum stuff that people should try to aim for in a game? Like, I'm not just like plot points and things, but like, what kind of asset, like, should they have, you're going to always hear like, should I have music? Should I have, voices, and a lot of that I don't know is necessary.
This question comes up a lot, actually, and the answer always seems to be whatever you need to tell your story, which is such a non-answer, and I feel bad about that. But you'll see some people who have like text-only games. Man, I played a lot of text-only games as a kid, and it still told a very full and interesting story. Whereas, there's some games and some experimental things I'm working on right now that are based almost entirely on just sound. So as few words as possible, and just like the different sounds and buttons that you push sort of lead you into the next piece of the story. You know, people talk about like how voice acting can really enhance a story. In one of the games we did, there wasn't any voice acting, but you could hear the character's reactions as things happened because it was from her point of view. And so when she was running, you would hear her breathing, and it would get heavier as she was getting more tired and things like that. Or when someone attacked her, you would hear her gasp in surprise. And so there weren't any words, but the sound sort of helped tell the story and immerse you into what was going on.
Oh, that sounds really cool. Have you thought about doing like a binaural thing?
I have, actually. I work pretty closely with a studio nearby, Okratron 5000, which the guy who runs it, Chris Sabat, loves experimenting with new things. He's really excited about like the virtual reality stuff, and he wants to get involved in things. So he like got a binaural mic, and he told me, "I have it. We should do something." Oh my goodness! I'm like, okay, I'm coming. Just hang on.
Oh wow! I can't wait, because I think I've seen only 1 or 2 Japanese companies try this, this is something no one's really gotten into.
Yeah.
So it would definitely be fun to see someone play around with that concept.
I think it would be cool. Like, I've listened to a couple recordings, we've done some tests, and it's really interesting, and I just want a way to like dig into that. I don't know if we could do it in a month, though.
Oh, you'd be trapped in that poor recording studio.
Yeah.
Talking to that foam head.
Yeah. I've tried to describe it to some of the actors, and they're like, "It's a what?" I'm like, you'll see.
It's a dummy, sort of.
Yeah.
Like you actually have to act.
When you see it. Yeah.
Right?
Pretend it's your scene partner. Easy.
I can imagine, like, we're going to get off track if I think too hard about this, but it's like, because it's like, you're not talking to a mic anymore. You actually like move around and stuff, which is cool, but also, yeah.
Yeah, that oh my goodness, we are totally getting off track.
That's cool.
We could do another one about voiceover stuff later. But there's definitely a thing I can tell you about a dub that's airing right now. Have you been watching Pop Team Epic?
No, I know the guy who actually drew it. Crazy story. He actually he used to come with Ryumoto to New York Anime Festival. Like, this is like 2010 or so, and so like. He's a friend of a friend, and so like we would every year go out after the anime con, go into Manhattan and go to this barbecue place, Virgil's, and eat way too much meat and get way too drunk. And this was like 3 years in a row. It was a great time. Back then he was still a student, and his drawing was still the same. You still wanted to punch those characters in the face. And that's just, yeah, and he's just run with that. And I'm amazed at where he's gone now.
It's incredible. One of my friends is the director for the English dub of Pop Team Epic.
Oh, awesome.
And there's a scene in it, in the original, where, it cuts to the seiyuu complaining about the script. Like, what is going on? What is happening? And it shows them in the recording room that they're in. And so to record the dub for that scene, he actually got a room of the same size and had the actors walk around the mic and back and forth in the room to match the same room reverb that was in the original Japanese.
Oh, wow.
So just talking about like moving around a room, it made me think of that. Anyway, wow, we're so off track. Hi, everybody. It's Nano.
That's okay. We can be off track. It's my podcast. I can do whatever I want. And plus, we're encouraging people to use new technology, right? So like, someone please make a VR Nano. That would be really awesome.
Oh, that'd be so cool. I would cheer for you.
Yep. And then, because only a few people have done it. Project Lux is the only one that comes to mind off the top of my head that has done anything with it. And so, yeah, there's still a lot of room for experimentation there.
I gotta say, VR opens up all sorts of exciting possibilities for dating sims. Come on, guys.
I know.
It's out there.
It's out there. You just have to.
Come on.
Yeah. It just takes more development resources, because now you gotta get a 3D modeler and magic, and I don't even know.
Just imagine the joys of being able to feed your waifu or your husbando. Oh my goodness, let's share this cake together.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. Or when they like totally like get angry at you and start throwing things at you.
Mini game where you have to dodge stuff.
Oh wow. See, yeah, it's much easier to put like mini game things into a VR thing because you're already forced to use like Unity and all that stuff anyway. So like a lot of the base engines, right, like don't let you add too many gameplay elements. Like Ren'Py you could if you're adventurous, but the other ones, right, like NaNoRenO and all the other visual novel maker things, they don't support that kind of stuff. You're on your own.
Locked in.
Yeah, so there is that. So if you're stuck with Unity anyway, you might as well put physics in it and then do crazy things.
Well, I'm imagining like first-time VR players having trouble with the controls, though. Like, here's a gift for you. Drop it. Oh my goodness. Hang on. Here's drop the gift. Oh no.
That would be such an amazing game, though. Like your wife who comes up to you and gives you like just gives you stuff, and you're like screwing it up all the time, dropping it, and she's getting progressively more upset. I
can't. The controls. I'm sorry.
It would be like Surgeon Simulator crossed without the blood, but with dropping things, and your wife is getting really angry and might kill you. Yeah,
there's like little anger meters. You keep not being able to hold gifts that she gives you.
Yeah. Okay. So free idea, guys. Whoever makes this, just let us know.
Someone take it. Right. Yeah, you don't even have to put my name in the credits. In fact, don't.
Unless it's really good, then you just like.
Yeah. If it's really good, call me if you need voices. Anyway.
Yes.
I have a friend who has a binaural mic. Anyway, sorry for all the advertising.
Back to that's kind. We've only wandered off track for about 10 minutes. It's okay. All right. Okay. More seriously. Okay. Dev stuff.
Dev stuff. Yes.
Okay. The biggest problem I always hear about any of these projects, right? NaNoRenO, NaNoRenO, is surviving until the end, right?
Oh,
you're trapped for a month, and you have this thing, and now your friends are calling you saying, "Hey, let's go out for drinks. Let's have a party."
Yeah.
Right. Ooh, and you're like, no, I gotta stay home and write my long, boring little game that no one can see right now. Yeah. So how do you deal with that?
Couple of things I have found, and this will change depending on your friend base. So get a good friend base. But when you're making anything, when you're writing a book, when you're doing a game, it's a good idea to actually tell your friends you're working on it. One, if they're good friends, like I said, get a good friend base. They'll ask you once in a while, how's it going? Which will push you to keep going versus if you just keep it secretly in a closet somewhere, never talk about it, then you can quit anytime you want. Your friends will sort of push and be like, how's the book? How's the book? How's the book? How's that game? I want to play it. How's your game going? There's a game I'm working on right now. I haven't announced it publicly, but I've told my friends a bit and let them play like the core version, and now they won't stop saying, when's it done? When's it gonna be done? I'm like, I don't know, a while.
When it's done. It's done when it's done.
When it's done. When it's done. But it's good having that sort of energy versus just me being like, well, and it's not a big deal. I'll work on it later. Nobody knows.
Or I'll play Civ 6 here for an hour, just 1 hour.
Yeah. So telling them ahead of time would really help, because then when you tell them, can't go out for drinks, I'm working on my game, they'll be like, right, the thing that you told me about, how's it going? And then you can even talk about it. And sometimes talking through your game and what you're doing to people on the outside actually helps you work out problems that you're having. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, I'm hitting a wall right now. The character was supposed to do this, but he doesn't want to for some reason in the story. And this is what we're doing. And explaining it to somebody will actually help a lot, sort of get all of those weird bits out in the walls that you're hitting. That helps quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. The rubber duck method of coding.
Exactly, the rubber duck coding.
Duck. Yeah.
So, just letting them know, and also sort of setting aside times. Some people block out a certain number of hours every day to work. And so just say, hey, I'm not available during these hours, but if you want to hit me up on Saturday, that's a thing that can be done.
Oh, that's so structured and adult.
It works for some people. There are other people who are like, I sat down for 4 hours and did nothing, and then as soon as I stood up to go, I had all this inspiration. Oops.
Yep. I know. Back when I had to do translations and stuff where there was no end in sight and I wasn't telling anyone, it was just like, all right, I'm just going to promise myself do one line a day. It kind of worked. Sometimes Civ would win out, but sometimes. But then, like, you know, if you do one line, okay, I'll do another one because my butt's already in the chair. And then somehow it winds up being an hour or two, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. Oh, and my friends have largely gotten used to it. So, like, let's go out, sure. But after like 5 rounds of bowling, I gotta go, guys, or whatever. And they're used to it. They always post pictures of all the fun they had after I left, and I'm like, cool.
Oh.
All right, now that I'm going, the party can really start.
So I can't tell if these are great friends or just like.
Oh no, they're fantastic, and I love them. And they're probably not listening to this podcast, but just in case, I love all of you guys, and you're the best.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounded real.
Yep, and we have enough blank space. We can just like cut that piece right out, and then you can post it somewhere.
Yeah, perfect.
Awesome. Okay, what else is there? Finishing, right? So we have people just try, just do it. Tell your friends, have them bully you into it.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like all my grad school friends are probably like hating me right now because every time, like, the one thing you're never supposed to say, ask a PhD student is how's the thesis, how's the dissertation. They're like, it's done when it's done. Yep. It's the same pain, but they don't want you to ask about it ever.
Oh yeah, well, because they know they got to get it done.
Yeah,
but anytime someone tells me I'm thinking about writing a book, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Next time I see them, how's that book coming? You didn't start yet? How's it coming? I want to read it. I'm a bad person. But I bullied one of my friends into finishing a short film, so I'm not super mad because it was good.
You're an enabler. You're helping them.
Exactly. Well, a lot of times people feel like they need permission before they chase after the thing they want to make. Is it a short film? Is it a game? You know, and NaNo oftentimes gives people that permission, which is really great. But honestly, the only person who has to give you permission to do this is you. So anytime someone says I'm thinking about it, my first reaction is always do it, just go for it, go.
Yeah, I do for some things I'm similar. It's just like just do it, do it.
Just do it. There's
take
no
that
reason
drink,
not to.
Take that shot.
Just go for it, go.
Yep. And then they do it, and then you're like I'm not judging you, I swear.
Yeah,
which is nice though. It's like you did it and you survived. You made a thing. And along with all these other people, so no one's really going to laugh at you for it because they don't have time to.
Yeah.
A lot of people are too self-conscious about this kind of stuff. And it's just like the number of people who actually really care enough to make fun of you on the internet is close to zero.
Yeah, and anyone who's making fun of you is just bored, to be completely honest. And I'm sorry if you're bored and don't have anything else to do. Might I recommend playing my game instead?
I know. It's just, it comes into territory. If you put something up on the internet, someone will hate it. Yeah. But it's actually a good sign because that means at least someone read it.
Yeah, they play, but you have heard of me.
Yes.
Statistically speaking, someone's going to dislike it, but statistically speaking, people are also really going to like it, and that's cool.
You will always find someone who likes it and always find someone who hates it. Hopefully the people who like it outnumber the ones that hate it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's 50-50.
Well, Lord, sorry. Your audience finds you in the end. Back when we started, I was talking about Realistic was kind of that first push for otome games, at least in English-speaking communities. When we did it, a lot of people said it wasn't going to be very successful because back then it was mostly just Bishoujo games. And they were like, there's no market. No one plays otome games. And at the time, no one did, but people found it. And suddenly it became this whole thing. And otome is actually kind of a big deal now. I'm not saying you're welcome, you guys. But the fact that, the audience found it. There were a lot of other sort of benchmarks at the time, other otome games that came out around the same time. And sort of having all of that, the audience came, they found it. People who had never heard of a visual novel before found it. It was some people's introduction to it. And so, the current audience, the current crowd, there wasn't a lot there, but then new people came and we have a much bigger community now, and that's really cool.
Yeah, it's Yeah, people always say there's no market for a thing when it's like, you know what? It's the internet. There are enough people out there that for any crazy micro subsection of the culture, you're going to find someone crazy enough to like it. It might take a little time, but yeah, it happens.
Yeah, so there's always a market for it. Your audience will find you. I mean, yeah, you got to market. You got to tell people it's there, but they'll find you.
Yep. And it's nice when you're just on a gigantic list of just, here's all the stuff we're made for this event. So
pretty much.
It's like free advertising. Yeah.
In fact, Nano gets a lot of that because, you know, it's all in this list, especially if you submit your game to the jam page on itch. You will find like a lot of game journalists and things will go through and pick out, hey, our top 10 games from Nano this year. Or here are 3 games from Nano that are about bananas or whatever. You never know.
Oh my God. Know. Now I'm just like picturing a conspiracy of like 5 developers who are like, all right, we're going to just go all in on this one
banana
thing.
Game. Yeah.
Bananas or clowns or something.
Yeah. And you never know. But, you know, especially being part of something like this annual tradition, you find, I mean, I'm looking at last year's Nano and someone submitted a game about Brie. So.
Oh, wow.
All things are, you know, I was making a joke about bananas, but you never know.
Now I got to go look this up because you mentioned it just because, just curiosity.
Yeah. But I mean, last year's stuff looked really good. I'm excited about this year's. I think every year people also try to push themselves harder and find new ways to be innovative in the small space. And I really like that.
So actually, yeah, you've seen through a lot of these. Like, has the quality gone up over the years?
Quite a bit. And I think the ambition has, part of me wants to say, whoa, cool your jets, guys. Not too much. You only have a month.
Yeah.
But the quality has gone up. I think part of it is people are finding each other. Back in the day, it used to just be solo devs just doing their thing. So you would have to draw all your sprites even if you weren't an artist. You would have to write the story even if you weren't a writer. And now you can find other people with similar interests. And I think also people are learning to plan ahead a lot better, which is making things a lot easier if you actually know what you're going to do before you jump into it. So the quality has gone up quite a bit. The ambition has gone up quite a bit, which really impresses me. And it's kind of exciting to see what people can do. But also I think that if this is your first time, you should start as small as you possibly can.
Well, yeah.
And then as you gain more experience, then work on the ambition and put more into it. Because I think a lot of people are starting out and seeing these really high quality games coming out in a month and thinking, I can do that, when this team has been working together for a couple of years and they're sort of really good with each other, and that's why they can do it in a month, whereas this is your first time, so go a little easier on yourself.
Yeah, there is that danger of you're comparing yourself against someone who might be a pro at this. And, you know, the standards are different.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, yeah, this is just supposed to be a first try for a lot of people. Just a fun thing to do. Don't force yourself to try to match up to other people who may have been doing this a lot longer. And then as you learn how much you can complete and what you can do, then start adding more to it.
Definitely. Okay, so probably the most common question I see on the forums is, how do I find people to help me? Right?
Oh, man. All sorts of places. The forums are a really good place to start. Lemasoft has a section where you can either say, hey, I'm looking for someone, or hey, I provide these services. Does anyone want to work with me? Recently, this group called CrowdForge, which is apparently a place to find team members, has offered to help. So you can actually find a team builder on CrowdForge for Nano.
Wow.
But if you're not looking for people for jams, you can also just post your resume and say, hey, I do this, I draw, I make music, whatever, and then people can search that. Hit up the hashtag, especially on Twitter. It's a very happening hashtag. Just say, hey, I make music. Anyone want me for their games? I've seen a lot of voice actors actually say, hey, anyone want voices for free for their Nano project? Hit me up, here's my demo reel, which is pretty cool. And then also, once you have like sort of enough in the community, enough connectivity, you could just say, hey guys, right now I'm really working on a game like this. Does anyone know anyone who's interested? The last time I put out a call for artists, there was a very specific skill set I needed. And while not a lot of my followers had that, a lot of them would tag other people they knew who had that instead.
So something like, okay, must be able to draw alpaca.
Yeah. And so in the end, I wound up getting just, oh my goodness, so many submissions. It was good. It was good. The specific skill set I needed people to draw food. So it was like the best week of my life because artists were just sending me really good drawings of food. It was amazing. And I feel bad that I can't work with all of them, but it wound up being a lot of people who I never would have known if not for the fact that other people on Twitter knew them and were like, hey, check this out.
That's really cool. Yeah, I remember after the big conference we had earlier this year, a lot of people were like trading information about this kind of thing. Because while I didn't really plan it that way, like the conference was January, and so it's perfect time to start planning for one of these if you're going to do it. And then I don't know if anyone actually did something out of it. So it'd be cool if someone like piped up and said, hey, we met at the conference and we did a thing, because I don't know of any. That would be cool.
That would be really cool. Tweet us, guys. But yeah, it's nice because the dev community for visual novels is still pretty small, all considered. And I like the fact that everyone is really connected, that we can encourage each other. Nano's a great time for that because you can just check the hashtag and tell other people, hey, you're doing well, keep going, which is a cool thing about it. A lot of the other communities are so much bigger that it's hard to really encourage or build into it. Right. And I think like the Visual Novel Conference was really good for that, connecting people. Another plug, I plugged at the conference as well. But Anime Fest in Dallas has actually sort of become sort of an unofficial visual novel dev meetup as well.
What?
Yeah, so for the past few years, a lot of people, because there are a lot of devs in Dallas, so we're already there. And then other people have flown in from all over the world. We meet up, we have panels. PyTom has come and run some like workshops on how to use RenPy and things like that at the panel. And I am talking with them this year about adding more visual novel programming to Anime Fest. So stay tuned for that.
All right, I have to take a look. Okay, it's happening in August in Dallas. Yes. I'm just like figuring out I'm going to melt if I go there.
Oh, it's going to be rough. But stay indoors. Stay indoors.
I think that's what all of Texas does in summer.
Oh man, I have regrets. But it's cool. You know, we have meetups. We exchange information. Oftentimes, some people even get like tables at Artist Alley and sell their games there.
Oh, that's really cool.
I have this panel that I run every year. Well, at every con I go to, but Anime Fest as often as I can, where we make a visual novel in 1 hour in that one panel time.
Oh, God.
And it's terrible, but we do the whole thing front to back. We write it, we code it, we draw all the sprites, everything, and then like pull voice actors from the audience to voice the characters. It's a really good time, and it's kind of fun just sort of to get all these different creative ideas flowing. It's very improv game, just shout an idea. The last one we did, the main character was a cinnamon roll named Jerry, who was a therapist for a pirate who is afraid of water.
I love it. This is the kind of stuff that comes when you crowdsource a scenario.
Oh, yeah. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. So Anime Fest, if anyone wants to meet up in person, Dallas is great. They also get some pretty good guests from Japan every year, so there's lots of other things to do outside of visual novels.
Cool. All right, because I usually just go to AX, but AX is it's huge and chaotic, and there's
it's
never
so
time.
Big. It's so big. We were there last year for a different thing, but we had so many friends who were also there, and we're like, let's meet up, and we never found each other. Like, I know you're in this building somewhere, but it's not going to happen.
I like very briefly tried to get like some devs to meet up at AX last year, and I managed to get them into the Sekai Project panel very briefly. Then like I had to take care of a thing, turn around, they all disappeared.
Of course. But yeah, Anime Fest is good. It's not too big, but it's not like a really tiny one either. So it's like that nice mid-sized con where you can still meet up with all your friends, but there's a lot to do.
Yeah. All right, definitely a good thing to do. Other resources, let's see. There's also a nice Dev Talk channel on our Visual Novels Discord. That one is super active. I can't keep track of everything that goes on in there. It's crazy.
So much happens.
Yep. So that's a good resource. There's forums, so you can always ask for people. There's Twitter, definitely. Okay, what else is there? What are things that people should know if they're just doing this? Trying to think.
Oh, Itch, I should probably mention, itch.io. is where we're hosting the jam, but also it's a good place to post your games when you're done because it's a free space to upload stuff. Other people can find your work, and even if they like you, they can follow you. So anytime you post a new game, they get notified for that. And that's a really good place to build community. Man, back in the day, back in my day, now I'm old. People used to not really have spaces to upload their games, especially free ones. So they would always wind up on like those file hosting websites.
Yep.
The ones with like 10 million pop-ups and probably some viruses, hard to say. And that was the only way to get your game out there.
Yep. Or you would put it on IRC because it was all sketchy like that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, we're from that same era, right? Because I started translating 2005, so around there.
Yep. Man. Guys, remember torrenting? Whoo!
I remember when torrenting was new back in 2000.
Yeah.
Where
oh man, it was so impressive. This thing where you can share files directly.
And it was so fast. And then we broke the university network because we overused it, and then it got banned. It was amazing.
Yeah. My school definitely had like a limit on how much you could before they just like turned off your internet.
The first year it came out, they didn't because they didn't know what it was, and we destroyed that network. It was amazing. Good times.
Yeah. Wow, now we're okay. Hey everybody, okay, we're old.
We're old. We've been around a long time. Yeah, that's what it is. The voice of experience. That's what we can just
Yeah. I've seen a lot of changes in this industry, and most of them are pretty good. So
yeah, quality has gotten up. Interest has gotten up. The people willing to buy games has gotten up. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, man. My first year at conventions trying to get people interested in visual novels, I was like, you know what a visual novel is? No, you're not. I had this whole 30-second pitch explaining it's like a choose your own adventure, but it's digital and there are illustrations and it's voice. And now I'm like, hey, you know what a visual novel is? And they're like, yeah, I have played like 700. And I'm like, cool.
Cool. Give me money.
Yeah. Then we can just skip to the next part of this. It's so nice. I've had people just show up and be like, oh my goodness, these are visual novels, right? I'm like, oh, I'm so happy.
Yes. I know. Or it's like, I recognize this. I played it before. It's like, oh, thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much. Oh. Yeah, things have changed, mostly for the better. And I really like that.
Yeah, it's great. Like I've seen less of the these are not games comment on Steam, which is great. That's only happened in the past 2 years. So that's amazing. A lot of things. So it has never been a better time to, get your hand into this kind of thing.
Which is why you should do Nano.
Yes, and you have 20 days left. I know, we brought it back. We did it.
20 days. One of the games in Nano was made in an hour last year, so you're fine.
Yeah, and it's not like it's a competition. There's no judge and prize sort of.
Yeah, not a competition. It's really just, hey, you've been wanting to do this for a while. What if you just did it?
Yep. Yeah, and then you can take what you've learned and make the thing you actually want to make, and it'll be fine. Then you could take this one and hide it when you're like, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Or you have a great excuse. Like, I only made it in a month, guys. It can't be good. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. It was just done in a month.
Yeah. So, okay. We've gone all over the place. I'm probably going to have to bring you back one day to talk about voices and mics and other crazy things.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be very fun. Okay. So thank you very much for coming and just doing this. I know you're got a busy day today, so.
Oh man, you'll see that on Twitter later, you guys. Not important.
Okay, so last things, you want to do some more self-promotion of stuff?
Well, I mean, just really, Twitter is probably where you're gonna find me most often. So follow me at sakevisual. I mean, if you're on Twitter, you can see my games. If you like them, that's pretty sweet. Check them out. If you don't like them, it's not your thing. Also cool. Check out the Nano entries. I'm sure something in there will interest you.
There's that one about cheese, so.
Yeah, there's one about cheese. You never know. You never know. So that's really all the self-promotion. Come to Anime Fest. Let them know, actually, you can even contact them ahead of time to let them know you are excited for visual novel programming. Because we've been very unofficial over the past few years, and they've been warming up and giving us more spaces. But if you let them know that it's actually why you're coming, it'll give us more room to play around with, more room for panels so we can talk about more stuff, maybe even to invite guests who work in the visual novel industry. I know, mind blown. But let them know, because they are happy that you guys are coming. But if you let them know that that is the main draw for you, I think that would help a lot as well. So we can really get this thing going. My dream is eventually to have like Visual Novel Alley, where there's like a specific row of Artist Alley for people who to sell their games. And that's what I want, but we have to get enough forward momentum before enough people can be there.
Just so apply that public pressure, guys.
Yeah, public pressure, man. Tell them you love the visual novels and that's why you're coming, and you'd love to see more programming for it. They are super open to it and really friendly, but you know, like any other convention, they have to prioritize what is the most popular.
All right, I'm going to call it then. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.